Good evening. You guys still with me? Good. All right, so I actually don't have a PowerPoint. I want to talk, and I want to have a conversation. Before I do that, that was an amazing performance, huh? Let's give it up for her again. And then Dean Ornish, I love that man. I want to tell you the authentic, loving human that he is. We're having dinner about a year and a half ago, and we're talking about my insane lifestyle, which is still insane. But he says, do you have a treadmill desk? And I said, no, what's a treadmill desk? And he goes, you need to have a treadmill desk. And he goes, hold on a second, give me your address. And over dinner, he orders me a treadmill desk that he pays for and ships to my ex-prize office. Anybody who's ever been there knows I'll put in, a good couple hours of walking when I'm in town. And so just the incredible human that Dean Ornish is. And I'm here in a state of gratitude, and I want to take a second to just acknowledge and recognize Dr. Daniel Kraft and Will Weissman for this incredible institution. So proud, Daniel and Will, for what you and the teams have built here in our third year, and hopefully the third of many to come. So the question is, why are you here? Why are you here? Is it for your own health? Is it you're an entrepreneur? Let me give you a sense of why I think you should be here. As humans, we evolved on the savannas of Africa hundreds of thousands and millions of years ago, and the wiring of our brain, the very way that we think, is best described as local and linear. Because the world that we evolved in, and our bodies and our physiology adapted to the world we were in. The world back then, when our circuitry was forming, was local and linear. Anything that affected you was within a day's walk. Nothing changed century to century. Nothing changed millennium to millennium. Things were pretty much constant. And as a result of that, we as humans are local and linear thinkers. We don't know how not to. We have these cognitive biases. But the world is anything but that. Today, the world is global and exponential, right? The rate of change is so rapid, so fast, that it's very difficult for us to actually extrapolate what's going on. And the only way I found it possible for myself as an entrepreneur, I've started 17 companies. My last company was Human Longevity. I had the pleasure of bringing Bob Hariri and Craig Venter together, and we formed this corporation, which is on the cutting edge of healthcare. But we're changing at such a rapid pace that it's impossible to project out more than a couple years. And the only way to actually do it is to come to a place like this every year and say, this is what's possible today. And to reset your 2 to 5 year horizon every year based on what you see here. Because while you might be an expert in AI or robotics or 3D printing or big data or whatever it might be, being an expert in any one field is no longer sufficient. Because it's the convergence of all of these, computers, networks, sensors, AI, 3D printing, synthetic genomics, digital medicine, all of these things are converging in unexpected consequences. And so it's really impossible to look out more than 2 to 3 years' time. We're blown away constantly what's happening. So by coming back here, this is, if you would, not a pitch, but just a way for you to think about what exponential medicine is or what Singularity University is. I go every month to an executive program or to graduate program or to one of the exponential conferences to just keep my mind in this sense of possibility. Because I truly believe there is nothing we cannot do. And it's the most amazing time ever to be alive. And I fundamentally believe that we are in the most extraordinary time ever because of a number of forces coming on. So the things I want to just put forward, and then I'd love to have a little of a conversation. If you can ask questions and we can have a conversation. So think of a few questions if you would. So what's going on now that's different than ever before is the amount of capital coming into this field, the amount of risk capital, right? We've never had Google and Apple and Samsung and the amount of venture capital coming in, willing to try crazy ideas. We've never had more startups ever in this field. And I have more faith in the startup community than all the government programs and all the large corporations put together. Right? Because ultimately, it is, the truism I like to say is the day before something is truly a breakthrough, it's a crazy idea. Right? If it wasn't a crazy idea, it wouldn't be a breakthrough. Computing with computers a little bit more powerful isn't a crazy idea, but going from vacuum tubes to silicon was a crazy idea. And the challenge is in the large corporations and in government labs, and listen, I greatly appreciate the dedicated men and women in both, but trying crazy things that have a high probability of failure is the easiest way to get a Senate investigation or have your stock price plummet. And we're all humans. We don't want to have that kind of a rectal exam all the time. And so we don't take those risks. But as an entrepreneur, that's ultimately what you have to do to move the needle. So it is the amount of risk capital coming in that gives me tremendous hope for the future and the power of entrepreneurs. So the meta trends that I see that I'm excited about and we hear over and over again is the power of the patient. Right? The mantra I say is making you the CEO of your own health. It is giving you the power wrapped with the technology, and what you heard from Dean Ornish is gold, right? Just the lifestyle changes, and I've done these for myself, and I love Dean and what he represents because that is fundamentally critical. But his ability to actually measure those things are a function of technology as well. And we're heading towards a point where we are going to be measuring our physiology constantly, that we will have an AI shell wrapped around us that will give us the knowledge, give us the information to make the decisions that we can control, and not something that we happen to stumble into when we go to see our physician. We're going from sick care to health care. Right? One of the things I'm proud about at Human Longevity, and I just landed from London a few hours ago, and I came in on the very tail end of Brad Perkins and Yaron's presentation. But the concept that we're now working with incredible companies like Discovery Health. Right? Here's a health insurance company that gives you your health insurance rate, your life insurance rate, and then says, after we've given that to you, we're going to sequence you. And then we're going to give you a reduced rate after we sequence you because we're going to help you stay healthier because we know what you're likely to come down with. That's health care versus sick care, right? It's how do we, to use Daniel's term, how do we create OnStar for the body? How do we create the engine check light? How do we actually prevent you from becoming healthier, prevent you from dying in the first place? It's a win-win-win scenario. I'll end on this notion in my comments, which is there's plenty of money in the healthcare system. It's just being put in the wrong places. It's just being directed to too many lawyers, to too many accountants, to too many, in whatever the case might be, too much bureaucracy. And so we have a chance to change that. You have a chance to change that. And it's the most extraordinary time ever in human history to do these experiments. So I'm thankful for all of you coming here and investing your energy, investing your time. And I hope you'll come here to get sort of the state of the union of where these technologies are from each other every year. And what I'd like to do, if it's okay with you, is just take 5 or 10 minutes of questions. What are you thinking? What did you see here as the most amazing thing that you've experienced or learned, or what questions do you have for me? We have a couple of mics over here. Don't be bashful. Come on up.
How would you say you stack up against, with human longevity, against Google's Calico, and are there any partnerships that you're working on to bring together, Southern California and Northern California?
So Calico is a very different beast than human longevity, and I know the folks at Calico, and we know them at HLI. Calico is a drug discovery company, at least externally, that's what they portray. I don't know what's going on, what Art has going on internal to the organization. But their goal is to identify and create the drugs and the molecules that will extend the healthy human lifespan. HLI is a data company, right? We are looking to create the most valuable database on the planet and mine that database for breakthroughs. N of one care, and you heard probably much better from Dr. Perkins and Yaron what we're up to. We have a 30-person office up in Mountain View run by Franz Ock. So we are up in Northern California already, and we are looking at partnerships across the board. Our operations are in Singapore, in Mountain View, and down here in La Jolla. So ultimately, like I said, there's plenty of money, right? There's tens of trillions of dollars locked up in personal wealth over the age of 60 around the world. And guess what? They're not going to take it with them. And so ultimately, that is money that will pay for the research. And I want to just point out something, and it goes a little bit to the point the gentleman made a few minutes ago. One of the truisms about technology is wealthy people pay for technology in the beginning when it doesn't work very well, and then the world benefits at the end when it works perfectly. And this is the equivalent of the Wall Street banker who's got a $1 million cell phone in their limousine back in the early 1980s. And today, the beautiful smartphone that costs $40 in Africa is available for everybody. So I think we're heading towards a world where wealthy will pay for longevity treatments, but it's something that will eventually, hopefully, the breakthroughs are democratizing. They're demonetizing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
Yeah, hi, Peter.
Hi there.
It's great to see you in person.
Pleasure.
So my name's Alistair. I'm a medical intern from Australia, and I've got a question that's, I suppose, a personal question, but I think it scales to a lot of people in the audience. And so I've read Abundance, and the vision of providing that, the material needs for the future 9 billion people on Earth, I find that inspiring. And I've read Bold as well, which it's the roadmap. So I suppose I've got some idea of what you think the roadmap is.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's a great book. So my question is, as a current junior doctor in Australia who wants to contribute to that abundant vision, what are your personal tips? What's your advice?
Wow. So I'll take it general, and I'll just say we, as each of us, is the most impactful we can be on the world when we are centered in our authentic passion, in our unique abilities, and the things that make us special, that we care about, that we're going to work till 3 or 4 in the morning, though as an intern you probably work till 3 or 4 in the morning anyway. So what do you truly care about? What do you want to do? What do you want to solve? And then go and do that. Too many people, and I open up every graduate program, every SU, GSP with this one question. Do you know what you want to do in life? And this goes for all of you. Do you know what your purpose and mission is on this planet? Like, without question, you know, this, if I do this during my life, I have lived a life. Or are you still searching? And if you're still searching, that should be your focus. What do you want to do? I became a physician to make my mom and my dad happy, and because the admission rates in the astronaut corps were slightly higher from MDs than anybody else. And it's been great training. But ultimately, it took finally me breaking free of that by getting my degree and shipping a photocopy to my mom and my dad to actually go and pursue the things that I wanted to do. And so if you know your passion, that is what you should be doing on the planet. That's what we should all be doing on our planet. I assume that medicine or healthcare or improving the planet's state of existence is why everybody's here. I mean, the point is that so I'll make one other point on this, and thank you for raising it, which is 1,000 years ago, the only people who could change the world slightly were the kings and the queens. Right? And all they could do in their countries and their regions were deploy the troops, change the monetary policy. 100 years ago, it was the robber barons, the industrialists, who could build the railroads, build the libraries, build the steel mills, the factories, and change something. Today, all of us can do this. Today, the power to change the world is resident in every single one of us. There should be no limitations on capital, right? There's $15 billion in crowdfunding. There is billions of dollars in venture capital. There's no limitations in technology. You can spin up 1,000 processor cores in Amazon Web, that only the Joint Chiefs of Staff could do 20 years ago. You have access to anything you want. There are no limitations for the impact you can have on the world. But you'll only have that impact if you're tied into your personal passion. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes?
Yeah, so this whole place is just an amazing phenomenon and a privilege to be here. My question is just about this idea of sort of like super convergence, where it's starting to feel like all the biggest companies on the planet today are starting to do sort of the same thing. Google, Samsung, Apple, Microsoft, they're all starting to manage our identity and sort of address all of our problems. Do you feel like they're all starting to mirror each other in a way? So do you feel like we're moving towards a totally consolidated technological super entity that generally addresses all our problems?
So that's an interesting question, right? I've had this exact conversation over dinner in Dubai like 3 weeks ago, which is you could best describe me as a libertarian capitalist. And I sort of feel like we're moving back towards a state of socialism and communism on the technology side. Meaning we're heading towards what I would call technological socialism, where it isn't the state taking care of you, it's technology taking care of you, right? In the future, we will have AI and robotics giving us the best state of medical care. If I need surgery, a robot will effectively do it for the price of electricity. If I need diagnostics, AI will do it for the price of electricity. I mean, that is sort of the boundary conditions of where we're going. And we're heading towards a world where we have these large corporations, these network effect companies, Amazon and Google and Facebook, which are growing tremendously large and creating platforms that we operate on top of. It's where we're going. Now, one of the things that I I say to Larry Page and Eric Schmidt all the time is I'm thankful that the profit margin that exists within search is resident in Google. Why? Because they are spending a lot of money trying to solve the world's biggest problems. And that's a good thing, because they're taking risks that a lot of other companies just don't. So I'll leave it at that if I could. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take 2 more questions and then we'll break. Yes.
All right, thanks.
For dinner. Everybody's hungry.
Hi, I'm Mina Shang, and love your speech. And I particularly like the part where you talked about the diffusion of technology and sort of how the super rich will pay for technology in its early phases, and then over time, it diffuses to the less rich. And I'm a little bit curious to hear your vision. Maybe as an example, how does this exponentialism look to a small town shopkeeper in Idaho, or someone who works in a factory? I mean, in the average everyday American or somebody in another country, what do you think all of the things that we're talking about? I understand how this future works for us, but what does it look like in their shoes?
I think what it looks like in their shoes, if you could mirror the analogy of, again, I'll use Google as the ability of a democratizing. So we're heading towards a world, I'll use this, we're heading towards a world where the things that were expensive and physical are dematerializing. What I mean is they're becoming bits, and they're demonetizing. So Uber is dematerializing and demonetizing having to own a car, right? Travis is heading towards autonomous Ubers, which at the end of the day costs 1/10 the cost of an UberX. So imagine if it's much, much cheaper to have access to autonomous Uber than owning a car. You can save your money there. Right? We don't carry on our cell phones. On a cell phone today, I've got two-way video conferencing on Skype for free. I've got access to, I did the calculation in the back of Abundance. The apps that are most used right now would have cost you $900,000 to purchase 20 years ago and are available free today. So what's happening is that we're dematerializing, demonetizing, and then because they're free and they're bits and they're available to basically distributed around the planet, we're democratizing these things. I'll point out that the shopkeeper in Idaho is pretty well off. It's actually the villager in Tanzania that I'm thinking about to a large degree, because we're heading towards a world where over the next 5 years, we've got internet.org from Facebook. We've got OneWeb with Richard Branson and Paul Jacobs just deployed $500 million for a 648 satellite constellation. You've got Elon proposing a 4,000 satellite constellation. You've got Google Loon. You have at least 5 different scenarios for providing a megabit connection to every single human on the planet. And this is a megabit to the poorest villager in Africa or Madagascar. Not like you and I came online. They're coming online with access to the world's information on Google, with access to the ability to use Amazon Web Servers, the ability to do 3D printing on the cloud, with the ability to do AI. It's this massive period of innovation coming, which gets me very excited about the future. Because the number of brains coming online to solve problems is greater than ever before. And innovation is the conversation that takes place between people. So I think that shopkeeper in India is going to have the ability to make their dreams come true, because it's going to become a lot less expensive to do so. All right, thank you. We can have the conversation over dinner. Okay, I'll keep these really short, Daniel. Daniel's going like this, which means going really fast. Okay.
Hey, Peter. My name is Shiv. I'm a medical device entrepreneur, and it's already hard enough to bring a new product to market. And the FDA is being a pain in the ass. Is there any way we can sort of help them, see trends, or do you have any ideas on,
So it's an interesting balance, right, on the regulation side. I play in both the FDA side with HLI, and I play in the FAA side of my space business. My old adage for FAA, the saying the FAA had is, "We're not happy till you're not happy." And the problem is that that for the FDA, there's no pressure. That we don't value the lives lost from inaction. We only value the lives lost from consequences of action. And there's no counterbalance. Right? There's no more perverse example than when Dean Kamen was on the stage talking about his Luke arm that he had created for veterans who had basically bilateral need for prosthesis. And he said, you can go to the store and buy a chainsaw, but you can't actually give the veteran one of my arms because it's not FDA approved. So Dean said, why don't we have an X Prize for the lawyer who brings successful lawsuit against the FDA for inaction on a product or service. So
I like that idea.
That's the closest example I have. Maybe we should still do that. Last question.
Sorry, no, we're out of time. I'll keep it brief. Peter, it's been a while.
Good to see you again.
Hey, so one of my favorite things about you is that you see opportunities and trends where most of us think they don't even exist. And I know in the few years since I've seen you, there's been a baby boom within the Singularity community, yourself included. So how has that opened your eyes to new trends and opportunities after having had kids?
So I have 4-year-old twins, and twin boys, and I value the measure of time over the next 15 years very differently. I think about it very differently right now, right? Because I'm pretty sure they're never going to drive, right? By the time they're 12, whatever autonomous car I have in 8 years will take them to Billy's house to go and play. I don't know whether college is going to be a valuable proposition in 14 years. I actually don't know. The state of change is so rapid that the educational system, if there are 2 systems that are going to be crushed this next decade, healthcare and education. They're both going to be reinvented. They just are. They're inefficient, they're bloated, and it's a whole meta trend towards personalization, right? This is healthcare for you. Different for you, different for you. And the same thing is going to be true in education. And so the question is school going to be the right place for that to happen? Or is it going to be in a virtual world? And if I believe my dear friend Ray Kurzweil, who I do believe, who says in the early 2030s, 15 years from now, right, not far away, and we're going to have nanobots in our brain connecting us to the cloud, holy crap. Talk about the education you can get then. So I just feel very different about the rate of change looking at it through the eyes of my children. The only constant is change. The rate of change is increasing. And I'll leave it on this. We're living during the most extraordinary times ever in human history. What do you love? What do you want to do? What impact do you want to create on the world? There are no limitations. We can, in fact, go and make our grandest dreams come true. It's hard, but if you know what you want to do in life, you can. Honor and a pleasure. Thank you again to Daniel, to Will, to the whole Singularity University community.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, sir.